everyone, and welcome to the Her Hoop Stats podcast. Today's Thursday, January 15th, and we got a special episode coming at you. My name is Chelsea Leite. I'm joined by Richard Cohen, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Her Hoop Stats here, wherever you're watching or listening to the podcast. Head over to social media, we're there as well, and also head to herhoopstats.com, where you can read a bunch of articles that Richard writes, and all the fun stats and all of the fun stuff heading, over on herhoopstats.com. It's a wild morning over on this side of the pond. Oh my God.
Chelsea, I just wanted you to know that Harry Styles is coming back.
I know. I was gonna say that.
I had to step on your thunder. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, I was gonna say wild day on this side of the pond, because if those of you don't know, Richard's over in the Queen's, England. I guess it's not really the Queen's anymore because she died.
Not Queen's anymore, no. But yeah.
Anyways, he's over in England or wherever, the UK. I don't really know specifically, quite honestly. No offense. And I'm over here in Canada, in Toronto. The first thing is that I am snowed into my house right now. Like, if I tried to walk out that door, it wouldn't work because I have like 2 feet of snow in front of my door. So it's a snowstorm. Unfortunately, I don't get a snow day because BMAC hates me. No, I'm kidding. But also, I log into this podcast to be a professional and do my job. And right as I'm coming in, I get like 7 messages on my phone that Harry Styles is back. And that's a big deal for me personally, Richard. And it should be for you too, because he's one of your countrymen. But you don't seem to be sharing the level of enthusiasm that I am for Harry Styles being back.
No, if people were listening before we started recording, my response to Harry Styles being back was, where did he go? So, yeah.
He left. He ran like 4 marathons. He didn't release any music. And just when the world needed him most, he is coming back on March 6th with what I can assume is 2 songs based on the post. And there's just a lot going on between Harry Styles and heated rivalry and the horrors of life. So, gotta keep it light.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that there's lots of things going on, considering we're here to talk about there being nothing going on.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's like we started this episode and I was like, let's get all of the fun news off of the top first. Fun news to me anyway. A lot of people are going to listen to this and be like, I don't care about anything that she's talking about.
That's why there's a useful skip button on all podcasts.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess people, I don't know if me being snowed in is good news or not, but and then we were gonna just roll into the fact that we're technically, talking a little bit of WNBA today, and there isn't much to talk about. I mean, if you have lasted this long past the Harry Styles talk and the heated rivalry talk, the WNBA is still negotiating, and as far as I have seen, there are no updates. There's no, I don't know, like we had a moratorium, so that's fun. Richard, what, for those of our listeners who don't know what the moratorium exactly means, explain what it means that the WNBA and the players have agreed to a moratorium.
Well, it basically means that they came to an agreement to not do anything.
I wish I could do that.
It took them a little longer than we thought it was going to, by the sound of things, because the league sort of sent across a proposal to the Players Association, who said, why have you put this language in here, and sent it back, and then they got something agreed. But basically, the 10th of January is when the off-season normally starts in the WNBA. So it's like qualifying offers, which are the paperwork that teams send out to make players restricted free agents or reserved free agents, or the core qualifying offers they send out to keep players cored and retain their rights if they were going to be unrestricted free agents. All of that would normally happen between the 10th and the 20th of January. So the fact that we hit that date and we didn't have a new collective bargaining agreement means they either needed to start doing something or come to an agreement to not do anything. It sounded like the league was telling GMs that because technically the agreement was still in place,
Mhm.
they had to start doing things between the 10th and the 20th as the agreement stated. So then they eventually came to the moratorium agreement, which basically says, stop, don't do that, don't send anything out. And yeah, when they come to an agreement in the collective and finally get a new CBA done, they will come up with a schedule which will start everything up again. And based on previous years, everything will have to be condensed. So
Yeah,
the
dog.
time frames that these things normally happen in will be shortened in order to try and fit it in and get everything going as quickly as possible, or at least on time.
Yeah. I mean, like, so yeah, obviously you're right. I'm not gonna you were gonna be right. But it's like, yeah, so if everything was going to normal, if we had like if this wasn't a CBA year, for example, we would have had an expansion draft like a month and a half ago. And then some time to kind of figure all that stuff out. And then the thing I think that is important to note too is that in like reports of what the proposals have been from the players seem to want to get rid of some of these like team owned negotiation rights. So things like the core designation or having reserved free agency or whatever. And so like there wasn't much of a point of doing all of that even under status quo, because like if you end up signing the new agreement and there's no reserve free agency or whatever, like what do you even do with all of that, right?
Yeah.
Or there's no core designation or whatever, because they also want to get rid of the core designation. So it's like even if the WNBA wanted to continue with that stuff, it just doesn't make any sense just based on negotiations and them not feeling like they're really close on anything. Um, but yeah, it is again like I was talking about this with Tyler the other day, where it's like every day that passes makes it feel more stressful because of the idea of doing all of this in the span of a few weeks is just really stressful to think.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously puts everything under a bit more strain the further we go, but
Yeah.
there is still plenty of time because they do give each
Yeah.
of these stages of free agency quite a lot of space to spread out, and we've seen it in previous times when CBAs have been agreed, and it usually takes until January at least, and we've seen one got signed in April and they still got the season started in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I was talking to some of our colleagues about this a couple of days ago, sort of saying, when is the actual deadline? When is
Yeah.
the
That's so
date
true.
they can get something done and the season will still essentially start on time or
On
close enough
time.
that it doesn't matter?
But that's the
Um,
thing too, is that they're talking about moving the season up too. So it's like we don't even know when a date could be because we don't know when the season will start.
I mean, in some ways, that helps them avoid saying that anything's been delayed or ruled out because we don't know what the start time's supposed to be. So
Yeah,
they can claim not
exactly.
to have lost any games when we eventually get around to a start,
Yeah.
unless we're playing like 20 games or something like that
Yeah.
in a regular season.
What I wouldn't be surprised to hear is, like, if they decide, "Okay, we're gonna extend the season, but not until 2027," like, if that is part of the agreement that they come up with, because 'cause you're right, like, and I don't know what that date would be, I don't know, like, how much they see like, how long they see all of this free agency taking and what their, like, arbitrary date is, but, like, yeah, if it does get to the point where we're like in February, March, and we're still talking about this, I could see them being like, "Yeah, we want to extend the season to however many games, like 50 games or whatever." But we're gonna do that in 2027, and for 2026, we're gonna stick with the amount of games we can fit into this time and yada yada yada. But it's
Ex-
going,
extending the footprint of the season is going to be complicated at any stage because we have these other competitions now with Project B starting to get involved in everything as well. You've got still got European seasons and players having to work around that. Obviously, if players are getting paid a lot more money to play in the WNBA, then that is going to make them a lot more willing to prioritize that league over anything else. But even with just the American sports landscape, the later in the year you go, the less available arenas are if they're shared with NBA teams. You're clashing with more like the NFL season. Things get more and more difficult to actually schedule the games and keep people's attention the further you go. So
Yeah.
it's always going to get complicated the further you extend it, and in either direction. I
Yeah.
mean, even if we get this season done on time, we're going to have an awkward clash with the World Cup in September as well, where they don't where they're going to be able to fit that in with like a break in the season that comes at a really tricky time because
But
it would be
like,
right around the start of the playoffs. Yeah, the whole thing's going to be complicated regardless.
yeah, and I forget who I was talking about this in particular with a few weeks ago, but like I don't think they would do it where they came back. I think they have to do it where the season ends before the World Cup, because like you think about the World Cup, like September, October, you have people come back for the playoffs, and then you're competing with the NFL. You have players that are going to go overseas. You have all this, stuff. Like, to me, it's just like, I don't think, and then you have the NBA that's going to be in play at that time. Like, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense for them to take a break and come back. Like, I do think the plan is always going to be to condense the season. But
So
again, I'm not the WNBA, so I don't know.
the World Cup starts on September 4th this year, which would
What?
mean
Why did I think it was later?
because it's usually later.
Wait,
It's
then
earlier
why?
than the last few have been. So yeah, it's going to
Why?
be because that's when FIBA decided to put it. I'm not sure there was any more reasoning than that, to be honest. Yeah,
Damn, that was gonna, like, even if, again, like, without like all this CBA stuff, that was gonna be a condensed season.
yeah, which is why I've definitely heard people talking about there being a break like you would normally have in an Olympic year. The problem is it's going to
Yeah.
be so late in the year that coming
Yeah.
back afterwards is what do you come back for like 2 weeks to end the regular season and then the playoffs, or do you literally end before that and come back for the playoffs?
But that breaks
It's
all of the momentum.
absolutely yes, but it would be a
That's
very
so
very
weird.
early end to the season if you tried to get it done before the World Cup.
Yeah, because then it's like not just like, okay, like World Cup starts September or whatever, you can end September 2nd. No, you need like time for them to go travel, have a little bit of a training camp. Like, they take 4 weeks off for the Olympics, and the Olympics is 2 weeks. So, it just none of this makes any sense.
Which
It
yeah, and obviously, I mean, the longer we go trying to organise just any kind of season, the more difficult this all gets because everything's
Yeah.
getting extended towards the start as well. So yeah,
No. Okay, Richard, I don't you're kind of blowing my mind right now. For the first time, I'm sitting here and truly being like, "How do we have a season?" Like, there's been times where I've been like, "Ah, ha, 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 no season." But now, like, we're sitting here talking about the actual logistics and the dates and the whats and the whatevers, and I'm like, how does this happen?
uh, I mean, the first thing is you get a collective bargaining agreement,
I mean, true, that's step number 1.
but for the schedule, from everything I've heard, I think there's probably going to be a break, but it's just going to be very unfortunately timed, and we're going to have an awkward season. But yeah,
Yeah, you know
I
what? We're all just gonna take a trip to Europe in that time. We're gonna go, the World Cup's in Berlin. Let's just go do a little eat, pray, love through Europe, watch some basketball, come back, have a
my,
playoffs.
my flights are already booked. I'm going.
Yeah,
So
that's exciting. Oh, that's fun. I would love to go. Um, because like, I ain't traveling south these days, so I might as well go, that way.
yeah, come this way instead. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, it's like, I mean, I definitely don't agree with the idea of like breaking up the season right before the playoffs. Like, at least, again, like you said with the Olympics, it's like right in that middle time where it's like, okay, let's take a little break, let's take a breather, we come back, we lock in, let's hit the next like 6 weeks, and then we have the playoffs. But, and especially now, if we end up, my mind is kind of, wow, that's wild. And I guess that I understand why they might want to push it up a little, but then you can't because of college. I They want 50 games, Richard. 50 games.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said many times before in many different places, I hate extending the regular season.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's my thing too, and I agree with you because I'm like, 44 is the most. Like 44 even was too much.
yep.
40 was a perfect little 40 was great. We like of course I love the WNBA and I want, but like at the same time, when you start overlapping with the NBA season on one side, you start overlapping with this stuff at the end. You have such a condensed season that everybody's getting hurt. Everybody's miserable. You're trying to fit everything in. You have an Olympic break a lot of years. You have the World Cup. And so every like other year there's something, right? Every other year it's either the Olympics or it's the World Cup. So it's like and like this season for me, like by September, I was like, let's get to the playoffs.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
the
Come on.
the more regular season games you play, the more disposable each individual game is, and the more easy to
Mm,
miss I find them to be. As I mean,
yeah, that's
this is
fair.
probably part of just like modern losing attention span people, but I mean, I've lost a lot of interest in the NBA over recent years as well because you
That's
play
fair.
82 games and watching any given one feels almost pointless because it matters so little in the grand scheme of things. And all you're deciding is whether someone ends up the fourth seed or the sixth seed
Yeah,
in the games that actually matter at the end of the season anyway. So, yeah, I would be against adding regular season games, but would happily add playoff games, which are the ones everyone cares about and that are exciting anyway. But
literally. Yeah, if we had to choose between adding more regular season games or making every round in the playoffs a 7-game series, I would take the 7-game series over more games in the regular
yeah, but I
season.
mean, TV and ownership want guaranteed dates. I mean,
That's fair.
this is part of the difference between sort of the modern WNBA and if you just go back a few years as well. Teams often weren't making money from an individual game
Yeah.
because
No one wins.
not enough people were coming through the gates.
Yeah.
So it cost more to actually have to rent the arena, pay all of the people working in the arena, and all of that than it did than the money that was actually coming in. Now that attendance is up and TV rights are up and all of that, people are going to want more guaranteed dates because they make more money per game. But yeah, as a viewer, as someone who wants to watch the games and be entertained by them, I would happily restrict it to 40, 44 at the most. But yeah, you guys as Americans are conditioned to want these regular seasons that sorry, not you, not you.
Thank you.
Americans in general are
Okay.
conditioned to want these incredibly long regular seasons, because every sport
Yeah.
apart from the NFL
Yeah.
has
A
you've
long
got 82
season.
in the NBA, you've got the same in the NHL, you've got
Yep.
baseball that plays
Oh my
162, which
god.
is completely insane.
These
So,
Americans, and we're not looping me in with them. We
no,
corrected
I
that.
apologize. Yeah,
Thank you.
I didn't mean to do that.
Literally the worst insult you can have to me. Yeah, you're right. Every American sports league is hella long. And I mean you Brits are up there doing football. Are those long seasons?
I the Premier League plays 38 for
Oh,
the
okay.
but then, I mean, the big teams will play a lot more than that because they're in a lot of other competitions, but
Yeah.
that's how it stays sort of halfway interesting and each game stays halfway meaningful
Yeah, yeah.
because it's different cup competitions and things like that alongside, which has
Yeah.
never really successfully infiltrated American sports despite
Hey, the
what they've
NBA
tried
Cup.
in recent years
Yeah.
with the NBA Cup, the Commissioner's Cup, things like
Mm,
that. But
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, the league season's 38, which works because each game does have at least a little more meaning than they do when you get up to 82 and the 100 and whatever, but and also because your final league position is what actually counts. The team that finishes top of the league table wins the league. So it's not just deciding positioning
Yeah.
for a playoff structure.
Yeah, the you're right about the NBA. It just yeah, it gets to a point where like some of these games it's just like okay. And then like it gets to the point where injuries like there's always a point in the NBA season where the injuries just like pile up. And you're kind of like okay, like and if you're so lucky as your team doesn't get affected by it, then you're lucky. If not, you're where the Toronto Raptors are right now, where literally everyone and their mom is hurt. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been
and
thinking about that with Unrivaled recently as well,
yeah,
where, I mean, as soon as the league started, there were already, like, multiple star players missing games from the beginning
yep,
that it sort of made me start wondering when they're gonna make changes to sort of the payment structure for Unrivaled, because what they're gonna wanna avoid is players signing up and basically using it as a paid rehab assignment.
mm,
So, you don't want them sort of sitting out because they've got a bruised toe. So, yeah,
yeah,
I wonder how long it'll be until they're more sort of pay per play, so you
that's
actually have to play
interesting.
in the games to get the money, or at least some of the money that's being promised to you via Unrivaled.
Yeah, but there's also a sense of protection there that they have to do because, like, if you get hurt
Yeah,
at Unrivaled, they still have to
absolutely.
pay you, and they still have to, like, facilitate your rehab or whatever. But yeah, it's just that's the other thing with them extending the season so far is, like, last year in the WNBA, it was just injury after injury after injury after injury, and, like, that is obviously, extending now into Unrivaled. Nafisa's out, Sabrina they announced that Sabrina was gonna play, and then she was injured. That the inevitable injuries that happen during this time in Athletes Unlimited and in Unrivaled and overseas over in, like, Europe and other places that people are playing. I mean, it's just kind of like the natural thing that happens when you have a structure like the WNBA does where they play 365 days a year, over and over, and I mean, the WNBA wants to try and fix that by doing some sort of exclusivity thing. I don't know how much that's gonna work, but yeah, it's just like the more games you shove into a player's year, the more opportunity there is for them to get hurt, the more wear and tear they have on their bodies. It's just I don't just everything about this is confusing. Is that like a weird thing for a weird stance to have? Every time I hear about anything these days, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Is it supposed to make sense? Do you know that? It's just me yelling at the wall?
I think that's fair. None of it's supposed to make sense yet. Hopefully, we
Ugh.
get some paperwork that eventually tries to at least detail where they're going. Whether that's going to make much sense, I mean, I'm out of a job if people don't need me to make sense of
Makes sense of things.
different clauses of collective bargaining agreements and rules that the
Yeah.
league come up with. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It just makes it incredibly difficult because you think about the WNBA wanting more games. You think about something like they announced the first Project B stop or whatever, and it's in
that was
Tokyo.
that was late as well.
It
They're
ends
going
April
into
6th.
April. Yeah,
And I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna be is that the last one?" Like, if that's not the last one, and there's, like, say, a Project B like, I don't know if that's, like, this is where the playoffs are happening or something,
yeah.
but, like, April 6th, and if there is another stop or another whatever after that, and the WNBA wants to move up, and college like, not that Project B infiltrates college or it has anything to do with college, but, like, uh and, like, what? They gonna announce a date and it's gonna be, like, October 3rd? Like, because then that my brain hurts. My brain hurts.
Oh, I think it's fair to say what the WNBA would like to reach at some point is the same sort of position that the NBA has,
Yeah.
essentially, where players play there, get paid enough money that they don't want or need to play anywhere else.
But that's the thing, you need to pay them enough money to do that.
Yes,
And they're
that would
not
be
all
nice. Yes, and I mean we barely mentioned it yet, but that's where that's what all this comes down to in the end is
money.
the Players Association are asking for a cap of about 10 mil per team, and the league are offering about 5 mil per team based on what we've seen so far,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty big gap.
It
So
is, and they can't agree what's gross and net and revenue and all that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, deciding what pie you're cutting up is important before you decide what the appropriate slice is for anyone to get.
I would like it to be a pumpkin pie. Sorry, I had to throw that one in there. I
I mean that would be the right color for basketball, I
It's
suppose. Yeah,
true!
that
Oh,
would look
wow.
appropriate. Yeah.
I'm so smart. Wow. Um, yeah, it's just I honestly, so much credit to everybody who's like working on this whole CBA thing, because like it confuses me more and more with each passing day. And obviously, like I'm and you obviously get more into it, but I am of the position where I do have to pay attention to it and like try and decipher things and whatever. Whereas I feel like the average casual can just be like, "Oh, is it signed yet? No, okay, keep going." But yeah, it's just there's just so many little things, and like the big things we're talking about obviously are revenue and salary and healthcare, but there's all these like little things as well that they bring up
Yeah.
every once in a while, like the housing and the core designation and the whatever, and there's just so
Yep.
many things.
And I mean, the problem is you don't normally start talking about those little things until you've agreed the big stuff. And that means that even if the two sides can get a lot closer on the money, how long then does it take them to sort out all of the other stuff that people want to argue over? You
I
know,
mean, the
when
hope is that they've been doing it simultaneously, like
yeah, but you know, you part of the housing thing, you know, if you were going to take away housing, then you should be giving more money back, basically,
yeah,
because that's you're then saying, okay, you guys have got to pay for and sort out your own housing. So you can't really agree on whether that's staying or going until you agree on what the money should be, because it's all interconnected.
yeah,
So yeah, uh, it's difficult, and they're going to need to get closer before we get anywhere near an agreement. Basically, I mean, obviously, we don't hear everything. We don't. There could have been more talking in recent days. The two sides could have moved to 7 and 8, and the argument could be between where they're getting between those two. But I mean, the massive gap most recently seemed to basically boil down to do the expansion fees that the new teams were paying count as money coming into the league or money that's already in the league, basically.
yeah,
The league sort of saying, well, what you're suggesting is going to lose us $700 million, and the Players Association saying, no, it's not, because they're paying $250 million each, and that's new money being injected into the league. So
yeah,
whether I can see both sides of that, to be perfectly honest.
yeah. That's fair.
That this is either you can argue that that these are fees being paid by a new team, so it's new money being injected, and then they're in the league, and then it's being cut up. But
Yeah,
you can also argue that these teams are joining the league, and this is just money that is going from one side to the other, so it is net neutral. Like the league starts to has argued, and like other teams have had when they've had expansion teams and expansion fees as well. That's generally been how they've calculated it. But yeah, it's as with all of these agreements. I imagine when they eventually come down to getting something done, it'll be somewhere in the middle of where the two sides are right now, because that's what usually happens in a negotiation. You end up somewhere in the middle, but it could be a while yet.
it could be a while. Well, the players don't want to end up in the middle. That is the thing.
Yeah, but you always ask for something higher than you expect to end up with.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
yeah, I imagine they'll come down a little. They just don't want to end up right where the league is, and it doesn't sound like the league has moved an awful lot from their most recent offer. So
No.
yeah, you wonder when Adam Silver's going to get involved.
Mm.
I
Wow, it took us 29 minutes to talk about Adam Silver.
I keep wondering about both sides agreeing some kind of middleman to try and
Yeah,
some basically the equivalent of arbitration, where
yeah,
the two sides agree to someone who can then bring them together, who comes up with some kind of middle ground that they find reasonable, that even if both sides hate it, at least it's a deal and it's somewhere in that can be accepted. But
but, like,
yeah,
do they do that first, or do they do a strike? Like, where does a strike fit into all this?
yeah, I haven't heard anyone actually talk about the concept of some kind of third party helping with this. So yeah, we're closer to a strike than we have ever been before with this league, because the players
Yeah,
have more negotiating power than they've ever had before. So
exactly.
they're I think they'd be we've already seen that they've authorized
Mhm.
their panel to call one when they need it, and I at this point I wouldn't be surprised if we get there, because There
Honestly,
seems to be minimal movement, and if nothing's changing, then somebody's got to do something. And at some point, the players will say, "Well, nothing's changing. We might as well try something else."
yeah.
And one of
It's
their
like
next options is the strike.
is the strike. And I wonder too if there's like again an arbitrary date that they have in mind where it's like if it's still at this point by X date, like what else do we do other than strike? Because you're right, it's like nobody wants to strike because that's like obviously such a drastic move. But at the end of the day, what are we just gonna sit here and gridlock for months and not have anything happen? Like, no, you might as well.
But
That's your
I mean,
leverage power is strike.
but then the question becomes, what changes if you strike?
Yeah.
What difference does that actually make? Because the two sides still have to continue talking to each other. Because unless they carry on talking and eventually get to an agreement, we just never have a league.
Yeah.
Those are the two options. Based ultimately, however far down the track it takes for us to get there, the two options are we eventually have another agreement, or we never have a league.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Exactly. It's just like, and I think like, and based on what was happening when the CBA expired, like both sides apparently were like, we want to play this year. We don't want to hold out this long. But at the same time, like they just are so far apart.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to halt the momentum of the league and that women's basketball has created in the last few years. I think everyone would agree that everyone wants to play because not playing is bad for everybody. The
Mhm.
ownership starts losing money, the players don't get paid. So, yeah, everyone wants to play. But on some level, you have to hold your ground and say we're worth more than that, or from the that's from the players' side, or from the ownership side, we can't play under that because we'll lose enormous sums of money.
Mhm.
So if both sides are feeling like that for anything on offer, then that's how you end up in this status quo that we don't appear to be going anywhere.
Yeah. It's it's rough. It's rough. And I feel like, and it's funny because I knew this conversation would end like this, where we're both just kind of like, what do we do? Like, what happens? And yeah, we're at the point now where I think, unfortunately, it's just like, and maybe this is just my perspective because this is like my daily life, but it's like every day just like analyzing this from a different angle, from a different angle, from a different angle. And I'm like, we're running out of angles. There hasn't been any updates really since, like, other than the fact that they let the thing expire. There hasn't been any like negotiation updates. And that just seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, the date that one of our colleagues threw out to me when I asked for what is the actual deadline was April 1st. I do feel like if we get that late and an agreement is done sometime around then, like early April, they could squeeze everything in and pretty much start the season on time. It'll be a short training camp, and maybe you start mid-May instead of the start of May, something like that. But you can get it done in that sort of time frame, but it would condense everything, and everything would have to be done very quickly. You give teams 3 days to provide their protected lists for the expansion draft. You hold that. You got 2 days to get over that. You have maybe a week for handing out qualifying offers, or maybe you do that over 2 days even.
If
But
that
then
exists. If that exists.
if those exist, that they'll likely exist in some form, even if
Yeah.
the players get rid of some parts of it. And then free agency is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and is absolutely insane. We have the college draft, and then training camp is 2 weeks, and you start the season. So I think it's doable, but it would be very, very hectic. And yeah, reporting contracts and deals that get done in free agency would be absolutely insane, considering the entire league are currently out of contract pretty much.
Yep. It's gonna be wild. Every time I talk about this with anyone, I'm like, it's gonna be wild. Any closing thoughts on all of this?
I'm looking forward to the World Cup. That's not going to move.
Yeah. Either way, we still get a World Cup at the end of all of this. And I
I,
think
I,
that's what we should be keeping in mind.
if if the WNBA players are still on strike by the World Cup, it'll be interesting to see whether they're willing to participate, given that USA
Yeah,
Basketball is a separate organization from the
yeah.
WNBA. But
No, they definitely could do it.
they could, but they're also there's a lot of interconnection there. I imagine the players would play. Yes.
Yeah, the players would play because, like, they'd still do Unrivaled, they'd still do Project B, they'd still do all of this other stuff, and
Yeah.
like, I think while international federations are like a different thing entirely, I still think it falls under that thing where it's like it doesn't technically affiliate with the WNBA, so why
And
not do it?
I mean, if it does start to look like we're not going to have a season, does anyone else step in to try and organize something in the summer? Does Unrivaled
Mm.
start organizing a summer season
Or like
to
a
to
eh.
fill the gap? Does
I don't think so. I think that would be too much money. I think they just do it I think they just organize stuff themselves and just like do player run stuff. Like it wouldn't surprise me if like some
uh,
of the like more wealthy players or if the federations just say, "Hey, just like come here and we'll give you like we'll just train. Like just train. Like do what France does basically and just train."
I mean, that's what USA Basketball used to do back in the day, pretty much. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. But yeah, we got at the very least in March we have the qualifying tournaments for the World Cup. So
Mhm.
that'll be some international basketball. We got EuroLeague
Yep.
and Australia and everything else going on at the moment, along with Unrivaled.
Yep.
Athletes Unlimited just announced their rosters.
Their rosters, yeah.
So yeah, there's plenty of basketball
There's
going
stuff.
on. It's just unfortunately we're hanging on at a thread, trying to hope that we get a WNBA season to support all of this in the summer as well.
And we're getting a new Harry Styles album.
And we've come full circle.
Yeah, and that's how you know it's time to end it.
Does it count
Um,
as an album if he only puts out 2 songs?
no, okay.
That's
I have now been told that it's an album, and that's I thought it was 2
okay.
songs, but it's just so the album is called. Let me pull it up so I get it right. It's called "Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally," which is now my life motto. Immediately,
Okay.
you're
That's
so
that's wordy and yeah, anyway. Yeah, okay.
kiss all the time, disco occasionally. Let's go. I'm so excited. See, the thing is, Harry Styles knew that the WNBA might not have a season, and so he said, "Let me give Chelsea Late specifically something to live for."
Ah, right. Okay. He's that
It's
locked
just-
into to your needs.
yes, exactly, exactly. So we'll be okay. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. You're not convinced. Uh,
I have nowhere to go with that. No, I'm sorry.
Well, this is a great time to end it. So, thank you so much, Richard, for joining me for this very chaotic podcast. Thanks so much for listening, watching. Subscribe to Her Who Stats. Follow us on social media. I fear my social media is now going to turn into Harry Styles. I mean, it's already kind of turned into heated rivalry, but you know what? We're just going to roll with the punches. Make sure to yeah, check us out every Monday to Friday, new podcasts, and head to herhoopstats.com for more content, stats, reading, newsletters, etc. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.